Hey everybody, this is Kerry with the weekly Vedic Astrology weather report for July 19th through the 25th. Our phrase for the week is find a way. So as the pace begins to steady, this week's astrology invites us to lift our eyes from the trail beneath our feet and look toward the horizon. Recent months have demanded constant adjustments, but the sky right now is offering a wider perspective. Mercury is preparing to resume direct motion. Jupiter continues to shine very brightly from the sign of Cancer as its sign of exaltation, which is good. And the deeper currents represented by the outer planets are becoming easier to recognize. Rather than focusing only on the next task at hand, we're going to start noticing bigger arc of the journey this week. We're looking at bigger trends, bigger patterns, and at the quiet forces that have been shaping it all the way. Okay, we had a request last week for the outer planets, and by the outer planets, I think we meant Pluto, Uranus, and Neptune. In Vedic astrology, our outer planets are really starting at the planets beyond the Earth in the rotation around the Sun. So that would be Mars. And then the ones we can see with our eyes, Jupiter and Saturn, and as well as the nodal axis. So normally I go as far out as Rahu, Ketu, Saturn, and Jupiter, and our friend Mars. He's a barely outer planet. But let's look at those big outer planets, Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto. Weirdly this week, you can look at they are shown on my chart there. All three of those outer planets are at 10 degrees of whatever sign they're in. I think that's interesting. All at that juncture. They're in different signs. Pluto is in Capricorn now. Neptune is in Pisces, and Uranus is in Taurus right now. If you're listening to other influencers or astrology experts on the internet, I am giving you sidereal locations for those outer planets, the sidereal zodiac versus the tropical zodiac. You can search for videos on my channel about that. So we're looking at them from the Vedic view, even though they're not traditionally Vedic planets. We only used to look at what we could see with our eyes. We need telescopes for those other three. Anyway, these outer transpersonal planets tend to push and indicate generational trends, deep spiritual awakenings, and evolutionary shifts. So they show bigger pictures, I think, in a collective way. But I also think that they can trigger our own horoscope and our own charts. So let's just talk about them a little bit this week. Neptune draws us collectively into spirituality, mysticism, universal love. With the flip side being there can be confusion and escapism and deception when we're looking at Neptune. Currently, Neptune is retrograde, and it's sitting in Uttarabhadra Nakshatra in the sign of Pisces. Neptune is bringing our consciousness into the depths of cultural, religious, and even subconscious foundations, being in Pisces. Okay, on to Uranus. Uranus lives in Taurus right now, and it tends to trigger awakenings and revolutions and deep insights and innovation. It disrupts the status quo. It promotes personal liberation, and it shows things like advancements in technology. So currently Uranus is in direct motion, and it's at 10 degrees Taurus, which is Venus's earth sign. Right now, Mars is with Uranus. The Uranus could be acting kind of like a plow energy right now. So we're in fertile fields. There's a lot of resources, but Uranus is digging in, pushing things around, and revealing what might be fertile, where we felt things were stuck. So that's Uranus. Pluto is at 10 degrees Capricorn. Pluto governs deep transformations. Things like the cycle of birth and death, the cycles of creation and destruction. It draws us into the hidden, deep elements of life and death. Right now, Pluto is also retrograde at 10 degrees Capricorn, and which is about a third of the through Pluto's journey through Capricorn. Pluto went into Capricorn in 2020. I think it's 2039 when Pluto moves out of sidereal Capricorn. So it's about a third of its way through the Capricorn thing, which started in 2020. This is deep change in foundational things, restructuring of government, businesses, the way we kind of almost do everything seems to be being restructured by Pluto driving through Capricorn. So if we're thinking about too, karmic responsibility on a large scale, like cultural karmic responsibility, big stuff. So that's where they all are. This week, Jupiter, who's exalted in Capricorn, is at about 10 degrees. So it will be directly aspecting both Pluto and Neptune this week. Interesting. It could feel like a warm, guiding hand that's pushing us toward making deep, mystical leaping and transformational discoveries that we need to stay on our path and to keep growing. Saturn is still sitting pretty close to Neptune and Pisces, and that's going to help us recognize what needs to be let go of and recycled. Mars sitting with Uranus in Taurus, that could bring sort of a turbulent jolt that advances us through what's felt comfortable, but now it's getting to be stagnant. So that could be the energy of Mars joining up with Uranus in Taurus. Now Mars is already past Uranus's degree. It's moving on quite soon, but I think that it's interesting that all three of those outer planets are at 10 degrees, and so is Jupiter. So we've also got the Sun moved into Cancer last week. The Sun is now approaching Jupiter, and it's putting Jupiter into a deeper and deeper state of combustion. So combustion, let's think about that as fusing the positive wisdom of Jupiter into the powerful light of the Sun. That could be powerful. The waxing moon is continuing this week. It's moving through the empty signs of the zodiac, Virgo, Libra, and Scorpio. It's inviting some careful activity at the beginning of the week with being in Virgo. And then as the moon moves through Libra, we're looking at social connections. And as moon moves into Scorpio toward the week's end, deep introspection and kind of turning inward energy. We're coming up with the full moon next week. So the other big news of the week is Mercury. Mercury is beginning to slow down, and it's going to get into direct motion on the 23rd. So that could feel like things begin to stabilize. So Thursday the 23rd, Mercury stops, turns around, gets back into regular motion. So finish up your editing and your cutting out of things this week. We're wiping off our tables, cleaning things up, and getting ready to move on with a new perspective as Mercury gets direct. So it's time to figure out, even if you are working with the same materials, it might be that you're working with them differently come next week. So it's time to repurpose things. As the moon gets into Scorpio Friday and Saturday, it's going to get both the aspect of Mars, who rules Scorpio, and Jupiter, that exalted Jupiter. So that could be feeling a potent combination, like maybe unexpected but wanted connections might come. And remember, we're introspecting as well toward the end of the week with the Scorpio energy. So even though it might feel internal, we might get inspired towards some positive action. Okay, so we're going to go through the day by day here. We're looking at Sunday, July 19th in this chart that's next to me. The moon is in Hasta on that day. Things are moving on Sunday the 19th. We get Saturn exactly aspecting Mars from 20 degrees to 20 degrees. That's a very tight aspect. Then Mars will be slipping out. So it feels like focused heat. It's summer in America. It's hot everywhere, even here up in the mountains where I live. So we need calm reflection. That's Sunday's keywords. Calm reflection. Much like the pretty picture on the thumbnail that I shared for this video. Okay, Monday, let me advance us. I forgot. I got to do that part. Okay, here we go. Monday is July 20th, and we're looking at leveraging power. Leverage power. The moon is in Chitra Nakshatra on Monday, and Saturn would be aspecting the moon. So moon going through Virgo, we're feeling a little bit of Saturn's press on the moon. Thinking about this, with the right fulcrum and the right lever, we can shift weight with minimal effort. So big heavy things can move with the right smart moves on your part. All right, let's look at Tuesday. This is July 21st. The moon will be in Chitra, barely, and then move into Swati. So I'm going to mention both of the nakshatras because as the week goes on, we're sort of having half days. So Chitra and Swati. My keywords for Tuesday are seek shelter. Okay, Mars is getting restless in Taurus, but all signs are still pointing toward finding your home and finding some rest. So seek shelter. Wednesday is 22nd of July. And moon is fully in Libra by this point, and starts out the day in Swati, ends the day in Vishaka Nakshatra. Words for Wednesday came as Sally sideways. Okay, Sally being like Sally forth. Go look that phrase up if it's an English phrase you haven't heard. But we're doing Sally sideways because it's Wednesday, it's Mercury's day. The moon is in Libra, but Mercury is getting ready to go direct. Final day of retrograde. So it's inviting us to kind of see around things in a different way and sliding into battle, maybe under the cover of disguise. So Sally sideways on Wednesday. For Thursday, we're looking at Thursday's July 23rd, and moon is still in Libra, Vishaka Nakshatra. So it will be moving toward Scorpio by the end of the day. Vishaka is really an intense nakshatra where a lot of things can happen quickly, or decisions could come up. Forked path is the keywords, forked path. So that's not really a directive, it's more of a noticing. We might notice on Thursday as Mercury goes into direct motion that we have choices that we maybe didn't see before. Vishaka spans between Libra and into Scorpio. So the moon is going to be moving into deep debilitation as it enters Scorpio. And it'll get that sudden aspect from Mars and Jupiter. Maybe we have a flash of insight and we see an alternative way that we might not have perceived before. Thursday. Okay. Friday is 24th of April. April. Where am I? July. I'm still in Mercury retrograde myself. So Friday, July 24th, Mostly, for the most part, moon is in Anuradha. The words for Friday are link up. The moon is moving out of debilitation and gaining energy from Mars and Jupiter. So pick up the threads, find your connections, link up, reach out. On Saturday, that's the final day of the week, Saturday, July 25th. Moon is fully in Scorpio, Jesta Nakshatra, Saturday. Walk on. That's my words. Walk on. Keep going. So Mars is directly aspecting the moon on Saturday, adding strength and conviction to existing faith. Jupiter's also aspecting the moon. So steady your pace, and your momentum is going to keep building. All right, that is our week ahead, you guys. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate interactions, liking the channel, suggesting things to talk about, etc. I appreciate it a lot. So thank you so much. Take care of yourselves. Stay cool. Find a way. Keep walking. All right, take care. Bye.